Hello, everyone. Welcome to Switchcraft, the Fingerboard podcast. My name is Jana, and this time I have actually three guests, which I haven't had in the past. This time I'm talking to a bunch of people from the Australian fingerboard scene. If you could introduce yourself, let's start with Devo.
Hey, I'm Davo. I'm a fingerboarder from Melbourne, Australia, and I've been fingerboarding since 2003. Um, yeah, I don't know how long you want me to do this for, but I've been sponsored by Preet and all sorts of stuff. Been very involved in the international scene and on FFI.
Nice. Chico, if you can say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Brazil. I became Australian a couple of years ago, like officially. I've been fingerboarding since early 2000, so around January of 2000. I never had any breaks with it, and I did write for a few like brands. I haven't been too involved into the fingerboarding scene until about 2017 when I met Eamon, and yeah, like I ride for actual size, which is what it really matters.
Nice. Ammon?
Good stuff. Yeah, guys, this is Ammon Wilkes. Fingerboarding, I don't even remember when I started fingerboarding, but I think I was about 13 in high school when somebody handed me a plastic tech deck, and it sort of all kicked off from there. I was really obsessed with skateboarding as a young teen. I'm still obsessed, but began to get really obsessed with skateboarding as a young teen, and straight away picked up some fingerboards and tried to learn how to ollie and kickflip. And from there, it was Tech Deck forums, Fingerflip Inc., Fingerboard.de, German fingerboard forum, all that good old school stuff. And, been doing it on and off since then. So, yeah, man, been around.
Yeah, actually, the Fingerboard.de got revived like a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's been going strong ever since. And yeah, it's cool to have that back because I haven't been on a fingerboard forum in like 15 years.
I used to go in there and use Google Translate for every post that looked interesting. I used to swap it over to Google Translate and see if I can work out what's going on. And every now and then someone would have a thread in English, and that was like the greatest thing, where you could actually read what was going on. Because for us over here, in Australia, we didn't have a scene like anywhere in Europe where there was groups of people that were talking about fingerboarding. We would just do it in our basement or in our bedroom or something, So it was actually really cool to have those online areas like Fingerflip Inc. or Fingerboard.de, Tech Deck forums, RZF, whatever you went to back in the day, where you could connect with like-minded people and talk about tricks, talk about products, and yeah, just get to know people that are on the same wavelength. So Fingerboard.de was cool, man. There were some cool cats back then. There were some wicked pictures, like stuff that us over here and even in America couldn't even imagine at the time. Like the Germans were making the most amazing high-level, high-quality stuff back when we were playing around with cardboard and rails made out of hangers for shirts and clothing. You guys were doing like proper steel rails, wooden ramps, 7-ply fingerboard decks, starting to make wheels with bearings in them way before everybody else. So it was really awesome to have that back in the day.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was even around for the time when bearings got wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Because my first set of Winklers still had the metal core.
Okay.
And another set of wheels that I used to ride a lot was like a straight metal core, like a maybe 2 millimeter in diameter metal core.
Like a Urold?
And then rubber. Yeah, Urold.
Yeah, Urold. Joe.
Yeah.
He just came back on Instagram.
Oh,
yeah.
He did?
Yeah. I was talking to him the other day. I still have a Urold sticker, and I sent it to him. He loved it.
When I first came to the Aussie store, I still had my set of Eurolds there that were like disintegrated. Like,
oh no way!
Like two of the rubber things were missing, and yeah, remember hanging out one complete fast fingers with him like in 2006 ish.
Yeah, sweet.
Maybe.
Cool.
Oh, so you've been around too. Then I remember.
Yeah.
When I used to talk to Martin Winkler actually by email. This is before he was barely even contactable. I think he used to go to a medical university or something, because his email address was like a university email. I'm not actually sure what he did, but it was like a uni email, and I would email him back and forth, and we would talk about how he was beginning to manufacture wheels. So I used to talk to him before he started doing wheels, and when
Crazy.
he started doing them, you just mentioned those core wheels before bearings.
Mhm.
So he actually started making them. I saw a picture somewhere, and so I contacted him through his email and said, "Hey, dude, I don't know if you're going to start selling these or not, but just tell me what I need to do to get a pair." And he hooked me up. I bought a pair from him, and he sent it across. So I had a pair of those, like, original pre-sale cord Winkler wheels, and they were amazing. Nothing I had ever tried was anything close to those things. And I thought, honestly, at the time, I thought that is the pinnacle. Wheels don't get better. There's nothing you can do to a wheel that will make it smoother or better than that. I used to oil them up.
I never thought having no bearings was like, to me, it never really occurred that they didn't have bearings. Like, for me, that was the perfect wheel.
Yes.
Like, the only downside to it was that back then I mean, you're probably one of the few ones who got a set from him that he didn't put on himself, because back then he would do that himself every time.
Right.
Like, doesn't matter if like 15 people in a row were buying wheels from him, because you needed to pull out the pins of the tech deck truck, and he had like his win pins, as he called him, like and he would super glue them in, and it was a whole process.
Okay. Yeah, I was pretty fortunate back then. And to show my age again, now someone can test me on this fact, right? I claim it, and someone out there is welcome to test me on it, and this podcast is probably the way to do it. If you're an Australian, you hear me talking about how I'm the first Australian that got a Berlin wood, and you believe it was you, put your hand up, contact the podcast, because I'd love to hear it. But I reckon I was probably the first Australian to get a Berlin wood direct from Timo back when I think pretty early when he started making them.
Do you know when, roughly?
If I had to guess, you go.
I think Berlin wood started in 2001, if I'm correct.
If I had to guess, I'd say it was 2002 at the earliest, 2003 at the latest. It was in there somewhere. And that was back like when people in the West first started seeing pictures of Berlin woods. I found a greasy little way to contact Timo direct. Again, I think it was just like a random email maybe on the website. And I said to him, "Hey, dude, I know you don't probably normally sell to people in the West or whatever, but can you please sell me one of your decks?" Now, the cool thing about Berlin wood back then, number one, it was far superior quality than anything else that was being made back then. Everyone else was using two tech decks and sticking some veneers between them with some super glue and hoping that they made a deck.
I tried that as well, yes.
Yeah, we've all been there. That's how every company started. Everyone got a couple of decks, wedged some wood between them, and then sanded them down and hoped they worked. But Berlin wood was
different. If you were going like above and beyond, you would take a lighter and adjust the angle of the kicks, and so you have like a different shape.
Yeah,
but it's still two tech decks.
Yeah, and you might not even drill holes into it. You know, you might skip the truck thing. But yeah, anyway, I got a deck from him, and when he sent it to me, he sent me the original DVD of Pissing Fingers. And
nice.
Yeah, sent me like a bunch of stickers. And here was the real thing. That was the first time I'd ever seen foam grip tape. Do you know what I mean? And foam grip tape is like
it was the lead, like yeah. And when I came back to fingerboarding, I actually, when I first came to the other Berlin shop, Martin Ehrenberger from Black River was randomly in the shop as well. So I set up my first deck in like over 10 years, or for about 10 years. And they were like, "Yeah, you can probably grip your deck yourself." And I was like, "Yeah, sure I can." And I got the sheet, and it was uncut, and I was like, I have no idea what to do with this. Because back then it was always pre-cut, since it was manufactured for Berlin woods, and they were all the same
shape and
dimension.
size.
Yeah.
I still didn't adjust to foam tape yet, which is odd.
It's been
But
20 years, Chico.
nah, that
You're
like
not
the thing
now, you never.
is I wrote tech decks from 2000 to 2017. So it was a long time. Like even like when I met Emin, like I was still writing tech decks. And I remember because like I would even look at videos and stuff of people fingerboarding, and I would just find like the decks really wide and clunky and weird. And for me, like there was a stage even that tech deck done like some fingerboards like with foam, and I was just like, this is almost like a way to cheat, like in my mind. Like I didn't like again, I didn't really understand. Like at the time, I didn't speak English, so I couldn't really communicate with the world, like to try to understand, what people were doing and stuff. But for me, up to this date, still like foam just feels really grippy, and I really like really fast kick flips. So I still go with grip tape all day. I'll have no questions about it.
Chico, the difference between you and I and the rest of us that use foam grip is that you make regular grip tricks look amazing. So
Yeah, that's right.
Also, you're as technical with regular grip tape as the rest of us are with foam tape. So we sort of needed that to step up our game. Your game was already there. So people can't see this, but this is the original Berlin wood I've got. I know, just for you guys. Yeah. And the pre-cut tape you're talking about, I cut it, but that was pre-cut.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Do you guys agree though that the first like version of rip tape was not that great, not compared to like extra smooth?
Yeah,
well,
sure.
I'll fight you on that. What I will say is this. The first version of rip tape, once, and this is actually the first version, and it's almost unusable because you have to wear this stuff in over like 100 hours, and then all of a sudden it becomes like goo. It's like the greatest, stickiest, most amazing goo you've ever used, and it beats FBS and everything. But you have to use it for like hours and hours and hours and hours. That's the only reason it was awesome.
I can't remember hating the tape back then. Like I only remember there was a huge step up, and I used rip tape back then for like 6 years, 7 years.
That's a long time to use that first version. Wow.
Yeah, because I exited the scene in 2007, and from 2001 is when I like really started. To 2007, I was using rip tape and Berlin wood. I also wrote another deck which no one has heard of today, but yeah, and
What's
we will use more about.
Try me.
Fingerboard.
Yep, heard of it.
I actually have another one from back then. This is also a Fingerboard, and they are pressed hemp fibers, and they also made skateboards back then.
That reminds me. I feel like Fingerboard was the same period of time that the Germans used to have those little outdoor fingerboard places they used to go to. I can't remember the name of it, but a bunch of guys, like a team or a bunch of guys, they used to thrash on like a stone skate park out in the forest somewhere
with like a crazy ass double set.
Nah, not the Berlin, not the Black River one. There was like a group of dudes. I can't remember the name of it. It was like a German name. But anyway, it reminds me of that era, the Fingerboard era. There was like, oh man, I'm going to think of it later, but there was like a team or a group, and they used to get together out in one of the forests out there and drink beers.
Okay. I know which group you're talking about, and I actually have a Berlin wood with the name of the group on it, which was the first graphic board that I ever saw.
Yep.
You're talking about Kassel Ost.
There it is, Kassel Ost. Yeah. I don't even know what it is, but I used to see it on Fingerboard DE all the time, and it's just like a group of dudes doing cool stuff with cool products out in the forest. It looked awesome.
Kassel Ost was one of the first crews, and like I was always envious of people having other people to fingerboard with, because I
Yeah.
was like in a 2-hour radius, there was no one around me.
Yep.
And they were a group of friends from Kassel, and the exit on the highway was named Kassel Ost, and that's why they because Ost means east, so
Oh, okay.
Kassel East.
Yep.
And they like one of the parents had like a remote backyard, basically. It's like a thing in Germany, and they were allowed to build a few bowls there, and they created like 2 bowls and a park, and they would have the Kassel Ost Bowl Masters, which was like a backyard DIY contest that was like super well known. I thought about going once, but it was like very far away from me, and I was like 16, 17, and my parents were like, yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, I feel like if you could have been involved in something in the scene back in the day, that looked like the thing.
Yeah, and
That
I
was it.
still love having my Kassel Ost deck here. And when you for everyone listening, I met a few of you guys at the Fast Fingers 2 years ago, and when I stayed at the Steig, the house that Martin Winkler owns, and I like on one of the days after the event, I would hang out the whole day in the kitchen and talk to people I hadn't seen in like 15 years. And one of the people was Tobias Fieler, the leader of Kassel Ost. And it was amazing talking to him after not seeing, because he's not really in the scene anymore. He still comes around occasionally, but it was cool having
Yep.
an old head to talk about the Bowl Masters and what Kassel Ost meant. And yeah.
Yeah, because and I think you hit the nail on the head. Fingerboarding. When we talk about fingerboarding and we're talking about like the scene and the history and stuff like that, what we're really getting into are the people, right? Like the most exciting thing about fingerboarding for most of us is just the people that you're in contact with. And the fingerboarding is just the gel that pulls it all together. Like the products and stuff like that is a cool thing to talk about. So you're actually talking with people that you like, you know what I mean? And so whether those dudes are still fingerboarding or whatever, it would be really cool to get together with those guys and just catch up on the old times. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about.
Hey,
Yeah,
one thing that I always at least I've been hearing a lot, you know, like even like I've been listening to the podcasts as well. And one of the things that I find really interesting, at least about the Australian scene, you know, from the little that I know, you know, and the little that I've been involved, is that I find it very different from the rest of the world in a sense, because everyone always says have like a very different story. Like, and I mean, like I thought that it was really interesting. Like when you kind of invited us to have a chat, I thought Emin would be a great person to be involved in. And the reason for this is because everyone talks about tech deck in a very pejorative way, and I think that the way that the Australian scene started is like it's because of tech deck.
Yeah.
And like
I mean,
and
every other scene as well. Like Tech Deck is what started pretty much everyone.
yeah,
So
no, I agree with that, but what I mean is like is the level of support that the company was doing here in Australia was like
okay.
it's like it's next level stuff. Like, and I guess Emin could tell us a bit about that as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could. So Tech Deck could, you know, as far as like getting people into fingerboarding, Tech Deck was it. And they did a number of things in Australia to really boost that. I remember when I was a little kid, before I even started fingerboarding, I knew that Tech Deck was setting up skate parks and little contests all around the country in some of the larger shopping
cool.
centers. And I used to think that was cool, but I still didn't know what fingerboarding was until I was an early teenager. But when I was probably 23, 24 years old, I'm 34 now, old boy. When I was 23, 24, so like 10 years ago, I moved into the major city in Australia, in Melbourne, and I wrote to Tech Deck. I called them, emailed them, whatever, and actually it was Fantastic, who is the company in Australia that distributes Tech Deck.
Mhm.
And they have the requirement to do the marketing and all that sort of stuff for the brand Tech Deck in Australia. I contacted them and said, you know, I've been fingerboarding forever. I know quite a few fingerboarders. I hold my own little events. Would you guys be interested in getting together and maybe doing some events or doing some publicity or marketing or something? Because I really, really had a desire to bring fingerboarding out in Australia. And they said, they were actually really warm to me. And they said, yeah, come out, come and meet us. So I did some meetings with them. And they said, okay, first thing we want to do is we want to do a run in some Disney magazines. So we want to take some photos for us, send us, we're going to give you some questions. We want you to answer them. We'll do an interview, photos, stuff like that
Cool.
for some magazines. And then they called me up, and basically I just became like a resource for them. They would call me and say, hey, we've got a slot on TV for Kids Warner Brothers. So come in, we'll do we'll film a couple episodes back to back. And that was really cool. So I got to go on TV and play around with tech decks on it, and they did tech deck giveaways and things, and which was sweet, right?
So
And they used
cool.
to give me boxes of tech deck stuff. Now, I didn't use tech deck stuff. I've gone beyond that. So I used to just give that tech deck stuff away to kids for their birthdays and things. And then one day they called me and they go, hey, our company and Tech Deck are sponsoring the Bondi Bowlerama, which is a massive skate competition they have in Bondi Beach.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah,
You know
is well known. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty big event.
Yeah.
So they were sponsoring the whole event. They had Tech Deck plastered on everything, and they said, what we want you to do is to fly you out. Your wife can come with you. We'll fly you out to Bondi. We'll put you up in a hotel. We'll pay you some money, and all we want you to do is be there and play tech decks with the kids, play fingerboards with the kids and stuff. And so it was like the coolest thing, man, like getting paid money, flying out somewhere, playing with fingerboards with a bunch of kids. They're setting up a big pile of skate parks. It was a lot of work, but it was just a bunch of fun, man. And then right next to that, the Bowlerama's going on. There's pro skaters flying around doing 720s on the bowl. It was sick. It was really, really cool. So at the same time all that went down, there started popping up these tech deck reps online. That was the time when they started making their first wooden decks. So that would have been like 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. They started making their first wooden decks, and Tech Deck in America started getting serious about collaborating with real fingerboarders. Because up until then, they weren't really.
Yeah, because in 2010 was like that was basically the high in Germany, like the all-time high was around 2010.
Yeah.
And it picked up a lot of steam back then, and a lot of companies got either back into it or financed it. Like Red Bull was doing stuff with people, and so I can imagine Tech Deck being interested in
getting a piece
some
of that
pie.
hype. That's right. Now, I'll come back.
Because, like you said,
it's
what started most of us. Like,
I
wrote Tech Deck
I'll come back to
trucks
2010 in a second. But when they started making their wooden decks, I contacted the guys in the US and said, you guys are doing wooden decks. What are you doing for promotions? And they said, we're going to do a tour of a bunch of states in the US doing what you did. So, like at a skate event, they would do fingerboarding on the side. They're like, we're going to do that. Can you recommend anybody that can come with us on the tour? We'll pay them. They'll be like a tour operator for the fingerboard event. And at the time, I knew a guy in America called Denny Politan. And if anybody listening to this podcast from the OG times know anything about Tech Deck, they knew that Denny Politan from California was like the Tech Deck god. It was like Chico for America. And everything he did was Tech Deck. He was the only person. He was the only dude thrashing a Tech Deck, as well as everybody else was using real decks with foam tape. And Tech Deck picked him up, and he did a tour of the US. They paid him. They did everything. That was sick. That was really cool. But like I said, I was come back to 2010. Around that time, this was like the pinnacle for me of people in Australia knowing about fingerboarding. I think it was like you were saying in Germany too, that was like the hot time. That's when people sort of knew what was going on, whatever. Around that time, maybe a little bit before that, but around that time, I thought to myself, what's the best way that I can help fingerboarding sort of develop in Australia? And what everybody else was doing is contacting the guys at Black River and saying, let's collaborate somehow. Let's try and get one of your parks here. Let's use it to do big events. Then we can build up the people, start putting it at a proper event venue, sell products, bring products, whatever. That seems to be how they're doing it in the US, Portugal, and a bunch of other countries. I sent a huge email. I wrote this big ass email. I sent it through to the dudes at Black River, had Martin's personal email address, sent it to him, and I got nothing back. And that was sort of the moment, like I'd hit the pinnacle of what I could sort of do by myself in Australia. I held events. I did a bunch of stuff for Tech Deck. Tech Deck petered off a little bit from there, and I thought we need to do something ourselves here. And I thought, man, if I could just get a little help or work with Black River on this, we could probably really turn Australia into the same thing that America has, or maybe Portugal or something like that. And then they didn't ever even respond to me. And I thought that was the biggest shame, because they're doing all these deals with Mike Schneider and Flatface, which I understand makes sense because they're making a lot of money. They're doing deals with guys in California. Whatever events preceded, sorry, for fingerboarding or whatever. There was events before that Black River sponsored.
Yeah, and they did. I think with the States, they did the US tour in, I think, around that time as well, 11, 12. A friend of mine was on that tour, and need to ask him.
So
they met. Yeah, and they met quite a few people locally there, and I think that's what helped getting it off the ground. Because with Mike, they knew Mike before they did any like business transaction with him.
Yeah, I think he'd flown there. Or at least that's.
Yeah, he went to Germany in 2008 for the first time. Fast Fingers number 11, and I don't know if they had business dealings with him before, but I think it was only after. But let's maybe get you other two a bit more into the conversation. When did you really discover that there was like something like a fingerboard scene? Because you've both been around for a while as well, right?
Yeah, I have in the fingerboard scene. I think Chico's not only been around a bit recently, but yeah, I got into the scene around 2003. Excuse me, on FFI, Finger Flip Inc. If anyone doesn't know what FFI stands for, and yeah, that was a really I got through there from the Tech Deck forums. Or Tech Deck used to have their own page called Sites That Grind, and Fingerboard Inc. was a site that was on there.
Yep.
As well as like Marshmallows, and I don't know if people know that, but yeah, that was an amazing forum. That was like, there was the Tech Deck forums, which I was on for a little bit, and that was really novice stuff. Just like grip tape companies were the highest sort of product level you would get, or like some really bad bushings or something like that. But when I got to FFI, Mike had even already made decks by the time I got to FFI. So like Flatface was making decks, and honestly, I don't remember too much. I know Martin Isley was making decks. He made like Athena and Cocaine in later years. He was from the UK, and yeah, it was really wild. The German stuff was definitely the best products that were on there. There was this guy, Denny Flagmeyer. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he had a few companies that were always amazing quality. He had a company, Flaky.
Flaky, yeah.
Flaky, sorry.
Yeah,
and, I think he had Shortwood.
Yes,
he did have Shortwood. Yep.
And I have a frame where I have a bunch of old school decks, and I have 2 Berlinwoods, a Shortwood, and a Favor in there.
Wow.
All from 2004.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Or
legendary stuff.
2002 to 2005-ish.
Oh wow. Ooh, that would have been really great stuff. But
and Flaky was he was around, like he was he was one of the first ones who made decks that weren't Berlinwood and that were on a high quality standard. And yeah,
Yeah. Oh, Flacky's decks looked amazing. I tried to I tried to get German decks before I got any decks from the US because of the high quality. But I don't know if you like the way it was for us is we had to send money by cash to people mostly to get our items, and that was really like it felt really unsafe to me. And I was just
yeah, I
like
can imagine.
I was 13, 14 at that time. What
Yeah,
I
it was
actually
also difficult for me because I was the same age, and even in Germany, like I think I even needed my parents to send the money. I can't remember correctly, but
the
yeah,
money
I think
orders
my
and stuff, right?
yeah, because I think my parents needed to fill out like a paper thing and bring it to the bank, and yeah,
Yes, the
the good
money
old
orders.
times.
Oh my God, crazy stuff. And then, if you were getting anything from overseas, they didn't fly stuff by plane back then unless you paid
Oh,
a lot of money. So anything that we would buy from overseas,
take
if they
ages.
shipped it, oh, months, because they shipped it by boat.
Uh,
And yeah, so the first deck I ended up getting was actually inside of Australia. Um, with a company that Ammon was actually very much involved with called Hazard. Um, and they were Hazard fingerboards, which Ammon is showing right now to the camera.
Not that
And
you can see it, but anyway.
I can, but um, so these decks were made by a guy called Todd Baker, who actually went on to become like kind of an Australian pro skateboarder. Um, he was kind of short lived in the scene, I'm pretty sure. I think he was around for like 2 years max. But in that time, he managed to make this amazing wooden mold. I believe Ammon actually has the mold still. And yeah, Todd Baker would make these awesome decks. I really thought they were great quality. They don't look very good, but they were actually incredibly solid. And yeah, I really liked mine. I had a deep concave one. Um, and yeah, he disappeared from the scene shortly afterwards. He Todd made the decks, he pressed them up, and Ammon actually distributed them. So he'd send them to Ammon, and then Ammon would ship them around. So I actually
oh,
probably got mine from Ammon potentially. Um, I also got my first fingerboard package from Ammon, I think, and I was really hyped on it. He sent me this amazing Berlin wood classic mold, of course, in like 2004, and it
Oh, brilliant.
snapped in
nice.
the mail. It snapped in the mail
Oh no.
along with a primo deck, which was made by Brandon Jones. He was a he was um, he was
Sorry.
the second person to make a bike rack rail and put it
Ah, okay.
into production. I don't know if you remember those old rounded bike rack rails that people used to have, but Brandon
Yeah.
Jones from Primo, he made these decks as well. He made
Yeah,
really good stuff.
I'm in general not really familiar with international companies from back then, because
Yeah, sorry.
like it was the time where I was still I could already speak English, but I wasn't nearly on the same level as I am today,
Oh,
and
for
I
sure.
wouldn't go out of my way to consume English content, and because of that, I never was on FFI. I think at some point there was I spent a lot of time on the Black River forum. It was after the initial Fingerboard DE shut down, and then it went to Black River DE, and then the whole forum got moved to Fingerboard DE again. And I think in the Black River DE forum there was an English section, but I never looked at that section and never like I didn't know anything that went like farther than a country around Germany because I knew a bit about a few Belgians, a few from the Netherlands, definitely Swiss and Austrian since they are also German speaking. But yeah, that was like the radius that I knew anything about fingerboarding.
No, and that is fair, because why would you need to leave your awesome continent for any crappy American products that we used to sell for like no money? But you know, so I'm basically saying, I guess I'm just saying this stuff and So yeah, I'll go on about me in the scene, because that's probably what I should be talking about.
No,
So I got my Hazard fingerboard, and then I started to just massively progress with the tricks and everything. I bought a mini DV camera. This was how we used to get back into how we used to get into the scene. You would have your webcam usually, or you could buy like a better mini DV camera, which you'd still just be. Anyway, we used to basically make these minis. We called them minis. Not edits. They were called minis, and these were like under a minute generally. Little edits, like basically Instagram edits, really.
Yeah,
We were doing that before. Yeah, we were doing that before everyone was doing Instagram edits. Nah, just kidding. But yeah, and I shortly gained a little bit of a following. Like, ended up getting sponsored by a few American companies that no one would know anything about, and just started filming for, I don't know, I filmed for this, like a lot of full length things, like Men's Night Out is a big thing that big video that everyone seems to still mention every now and then, which had like Gary Chin and Alex McMillan and Chris Daniels.
Which video?
It's called Men's Night Out. And there were two videos. There was like Men's Night Out 1 and Men's Night Out 2. And it was...
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was big in the US, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, it was very Western famous.
It was Western.
But Davo, get into the fact that you got picked up by Peter on Preet, which was like, at the time you were on Preet was like the number one. It must have been like the most sought after deck company in the whole world.
Even in Germany, like it was. I know from people back then that that was impossible to get a Preet, because Preet only started right when I left the scene for the first time, and I have quite a few friends who were like searching for Preets everywhere, and then were at an event hanging out with a guy, and only like right at the end of the event they figure out that the guy was actually Peter from Preet.
Yeah.
We're like, hey,
so modest.
It's actually funny. We have an internal joke about Preet where we said that it's just an imaginary company. It doesn't really exist, because like it's just so hard to get their decks. It's just impossible.
And still, like I have a Preet right with me, and it's I hate selling stuff, and I hate I don't.
Do you have my pro model, Amin?
Don't want to sell that Preet.
I'll jump into a quick story for you, Dave. So Davo was on Preet at the pinnacle. Like you were saying, you couldn't get a Preet. And on fingerflipinc.com, the forums, if you wanted to buy a Preet, some of them were selling for $100 to $200. That's what people were selling Preets for at the time. And Peter would never bump up the price. If he would sell them, there you go, you got one. Ooh. If Peter would sell them cheap. He'd sell them for $15, $20.
Still, I paid like $20 for this, and that's the reason I don't want to put this on Instagram, because I'm not using it, and I had it on my wall for a while, but I want someone to ride it, and because it's an amazing deck, it's just not my shape. But I don't want to sell it to just anyone, because I don't want someone to buy it for like 20 euros and then put it on Instagram in the States for like $100. Because
it's going to, it'll end up getting sold for too much or put on somebody else's shelf. So either keep it on yours or sell it to someone that's going to use it. And every now and then you will find someone that likes the shape to ride.
Yeah, because all my friends here in Germany all have a Preet. Like none of them need a Preet. And I keep it for someone where I'm like, there you go. Yeah.
That's cool. And basically that's what Davo did for me. So Davo was on Preet. The dude was getting hooked up. He had Preet Cura G1, G2 molds. He had metal bottoms, metal hearts.
Ooh, the metal bottoms are sweet.
Yeah, dude. And
I got the first metal engrave.
and so Davo sort of disappeared from the scene for a few years, and I moved from Western Australia to Victoria, which is the other side of Australia, and I met up with Davo for the first time. When was this, Davo? Probably like
2008, 2009?
2008, 2009-ish. I met up with Davo. Davo hadn't been fingerboarding, and I went to his house, and we fingerboarded a bit, but he mainly just filmed me because he wasn't really fingerboarding much. And then he goes, oh man, here, take these. And he gave me 2 or 3 Preets in pristine condition. Like, he gave me the metal bottom, he gave me the metal heart, he gave me the bloody... He gave me the best stuff, like the stuff that money couldn't even buy at the time. You couldn't even get them. He just gave them to me. A couple of years later, Davo did start getting back into fingerboarding, and he's like, bro, I need a deck. And so I gave you a Preet G1. And honestly, to this day, the Preet Street first mold is probably the best deck I've ever used in my entire life.
It is.
That was probably the closest thing to perfection I've ever used, and I've used hundreds of decks. That was it.
Yeah,
so it was cool
really
because Davo gave one to me, gave me some decks, and then when he was ready to come back, I hooked him up with a Preet as well, and there we go. Nice. We're sharing the love. So Peter, if you're listening, I want you to know something. You're a stud for never putting your prices up. You're a stud for always hooking up the right dudes that you know are going to use your decks.
Yeah,
and staying true to your principles and everything. And I'll just say, you always made the best decks, bro. So for all the Preets that we've ever been through collectively, we thank you, mate. You're the man.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was around back then, I lived in the south of Germany, and near one of the major cities, actually the city where pretty much every German car is made, like Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, they're all there. Yep. And I was the only one, like I said, in like 100-kilometer radius. And now there's like a really thriving scene, and one of the people who's living there now is Peter. And
no way.
And Afrobi, if some of
you,
oh, like you definitely know. And Afrobi was a good friend of mine from back then, and he was the one starting the Fingerboard.de forum again because he still has the domain, and he asked me to redo it with him, but he did all the work. I did nothing.
Cool.
But yeah, now the Stuttgart scene has like really amazing people like Afrobi, like Peter, and also neo companies like Nice Plies is doing a lot in that area. And yeah, it really helps cool. to have people in an area doing stuff and creating stuff. And that's also something I wanted to ask all of you, because that's something I'm not really familiar with. Which or what companies in Australia are doing stuff right now? Because I know a few of the ones who ship stuff and sell stuff, but I know very little companies that actually create stuff themselves in Australia. So what would you say are the
okay? So that's
I think the biggest or most important companies.
All right. Well, I would say number one Australian company, it would 100% be Dislocation. Dislocation.
Like I use Dislocation.
I mean,
all of these are Dislocation.
Like Dislocation is like, Jai, and again, Jai is run by Jai. Jai is just like this amazing dude. Like he's like, he's like a pet. Like you would want to have him by your side all the time. He's just like so much fun.
I want a Jai in my room right now.
Can I buy a Jai? Does he sell them?
I think he should start putting them on the website.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jai, if you listen to this, man, like I hope you're doing well, because like we've been trying to communicate with him lately, and it's just been really hard. Like, but again, it's sometimes hard to pick up on the phone. And then I would say like we have Brendan from Vivwood. So Vivwood would be like definitely be a brand that is representing Australia like in the scene. Like Brendan is like he does like some, like his craftsmanship is like, it's really, really good.
There you go.
Like, like personally, I think it's a bit short base for me, but I know a bunch of people that love it. Like, I personally think that the decks are really well made. I wrote for Viv Wood. I was Viv Wood's first writer. It's actually a funny one. But we got like doing stuff at the moment. We have, JC Concrete. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's doing some really interesting stuff, and we
And
have
also very unique. Like
very
I like that that it's something you haven't seen before, and in a
Definitely.
very
I think
very polished style,
I
like
think
very well made.
very very well made. Correct. That's exactly it. I think that that's the point that he's doing really well. And again, it's just, as far as I understand, like, it's just a kid and his dad running,
Yeah.
like they're doing that. And then we have like we have a brand which is, myself, Dave, and Rafe, which is actual size. At the moment, we are just developing stuff. We don't have anything for sale at the moment, but we did
Mhm.
put some stuff out there before, like, and we have some amazing stuff. Like, I would very be keen to show you offline, but we have prototypes and stuff, but that nothing that is,
Yeah,
on the market right now.
I'll tell you something
And
about Chico. I'll tell you something about Chico, right? If he's going to do something, he doesn't go small. He goes all the way massive. If he's going to make a skate park, he's going to design and over-engineer the life out of it and spend way too much time and way too much money and design work putting it together, and it'll turn out better than expected, right? So if he's talking about creating a product, just understand he's not going to sell it. He's not going to put it out there unless it's like the greatest thing that's ever been made in that category. So if he's going to show you some behind the scenes stuff, I'd put my hand up and have a look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he ever sells it, anybody that's listening, if Actual Size sells something, if Chico and the gang put something together, just buy it. It'll be insane.
Yeah, I have a friend like that who worked on wheels for like 2 years and only started putting them out like half a year ago. And the wheels are amazing. And I really like people who put in the effort to do R&D, because way too many people buy their first like 3D printed mold, slap a bunch of veneer together and start selling it for the same price as a Berlin wood. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't.
And then again, we have Matt from Street Miniatures, which is also a company that I write for, which does you should definitely check in. Like, even Nico Frank has like an ad for Street Miniatures. Yeah, when Nico came to Germany, like, he stayed with Matt, like, in Sydney. Like, Dave and I, we drove to Sydney. We caught up with Nico, like, and we done a bunch of crazy stuff. Or like, that was actually really crazy, because Melbourne is about
Talking about
Melbourne is about 9 hours from Sydney. Like, we drove there, we caught up with them, and we drove back. That's pretty much what we did. That was like insane, right? We spent the day with them and drove back. Like, it was crazy. But that's a story for, I would say, like, another day, But Matt, like, he does stuff, like, it's custom made. Everything that he does is custom made. So he doesn't have stock. You basically need to go and talk to him and say, look, this is what I want. And he'll actually go and do the most amazing stuff. Like, it's miniature stuff. Like, he goes he's got graffiti cans that you flick it and you listen to the little ball like flicking. It's
We're
amazing.
talking about a graffiti can that's the size of your fingernail.
Like, it's the level of detail that he puts into it is just amazing. It's just
probably
amazing.
similar to what a Big Boydle does. Like, Big Boydle does amazing miniatures as well.
Yeah.
A couple days ago, he posted an image of an IKEA lamp that he did in like a couple of centimeters high with like springs and everything.
What does Boidle mean?
Uh, it's not really a word. I
Oh,
think like there's a word that's similar in German that's spelled with a T and an E at the end before the L.
yeah.
Beutel.
Okay.
And Beutel means bag. And I think Beutel is actually his last name, but I'm not sure on that.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know
All right.
how he came across that name, but yeah, we just call him, like the guy who does it, we call him Beutel. Like
Okay. Yeah. I just
I
figured
don't
there's
even
probably
know
some context.
yeah, I don't even know his first name. I've I've done stuff for him because I was trained as a graphic designer and studied and all of that, and I did stickers for him because he's not like he doesn't know anything about tech and he
Yeah.
doesn't want to do anything with technology.
Yeah.
And yeah, so TKY from the Aussie Berlin store got him to me, and I created stickers for him. And even still, I don't know his name other than Boydell.
Yeah. So just continuing some of the list of people that are, like Australian people that are doing stuff. I would say then I would probably go and mention Ziggy from Ego Fingerboard Video Magazine. I don't know if you ever heard of Ego Fingerboard Video Magazine. Like they basically they created so Ziggy basically created this 411 for fingerboard. That's the best way that I can describe. It's like it's 411 video magazine for fingerboard. Like it and he puts it so well, like the way that he edits and the feel that he puts, the music that he chooses. He like like I started skating like in '99, right? So like I'm a massive fan of
You guys
411.
started at the same time.
For me, like I have literally every single 411. I have them all. Like I have the collection. And for me, and I still watch them up to this date. And for me, like it really feels like he makes it feel. He gives it a really good 411 feel to that. But with fingerboards, like so, it's amazing. Like I love it. I personally really love Ziggy's work basically. And so we also have Jimmy that does toasted fingerboards, and he makes decks. And in my personal opinion, like people should get to know this brand. Like seriously, like his decks are one of a kind. They like super well made.
What was the name of that one?
Toasted fingerboards.
Oh, Toasted, dude. Yeah.
Toasted,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off too much, but I want to say quickly, shout outs to Matt at Street Miniaturist because that guy makes the greatest stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. Number one.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Best thing ever. Shout out to Ziggy for being the dude that holds it down by himself, with or without anybody else, making
Sam.
videos.
I mean, James is involved as well. Like with Ego, I forgot to mention that. Like obviously James. So it's like it's Ziggy like in Australia and James like from the US scene. And then again, like it's a good thing because James is connected with Mike Schneider and all those guys in the US. So it's kind of like it's they put together like footages and stuff. But Ziggy is the guy that runs it as far as
What I think is really special about Ziggy though is Ziggy's like consistently putting up fingerboard footage, talking about fingerboarding, trying new products, all that sort of stuff. For an Australian, that's a big deal because no one else is. Very few other people are doing that. What was the last thing you mentioned? Toasted. Now that dude is like, if he's not a professional skateboarder, he skates like a professional skateboarder.
Man, like I honestly like I had this conversation many times with David. Like, and I mean, like when I have to just share this quick story, right? When I arrived in Australia, like I was massive like video collector, skateboard video collector. The first thing I did when I arrived in Australia, I walked into the used to call PSC, I think it was to call. Like now it's not now it's called Fast Times. PSC, yeah. And I walked into PSC and I said I want to buy the like a local. I want the locals. I want a DVD of the locals. That's what I want. I want to get to know the locals. And I remember the video that I bought was called Positive Energy. and he had Shane O'Neill on it, right? And I remember like I used to like share this video with a bunch of people, like, and again in Brazil was really hard to to get videos. So like I used to share like with people so people could pass it around or whatever. And I remember saying, this is what I said: you guys have to watch this because of this guy called Shane O'Neill. This guy is amazing. I remember like Shane O'Neill was nothing in Australia. Maybe in Australia he was something. I personally don't know, but he was nothing in the world scene, right? And it didn't take long. Like, I mean, see, like, look how many people he's got on Instagram, for instance, now. Got more than 1 million people, And this is the same eyes of a person that look Jimmy skate. And I said, I cannot believe that Jimmy is not sponsored. Like, it's crazy. He is that good. He's amazing.
So this is the guy that owns and runs Toasted Fingerboards.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
he makes great fingerboards. He's a great genuine skater. Yes. He's a great fingerboarder, and if he's not a professional skateboarder, he skates like one. So he's all around like deep into skateboarding and fingerboarding, and like a cool dude. And I reckon any Aussies that are looking for a good deck at a good price and to support a really good, cool company, get hold of that guy.
Yeah, and and then I'll continue. I'll say we got Kirk. Basic. So Kirk makes custom built parks or whatever with concrete, and worth mentioning as well. Commit to robbery,
I'm always looking forward to his videos on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just saying so commit robbery, from Riley. He's also doing some small concrete stuff, really, really cool stuff. Some of the things that he's doing. And I have to mention Kirk, right? Kirk, I don't think he has a brand yet, but hit him up or by his Instagram, name is Bare Finger. So Bare Finger, right? It's amazing. I'm not joking. I was saying to the boys before, because Emin and Dave haven't been to his place yet. And I mean, I've been to Aussie, right? And again, it's not to say anything, it felt like I was walking into Aussie all over again, but in Australia.
Nice.
He built he just gets bored and he just builds stuff. It's just crazy, in all concrete and amazing. It's just mind blowing stuff what he does. He's been doing. So anyway, the other day I was just sketching up an actual size logo park, and if you see on my Instagram you'll be able to see that. And I was just and I was just talking to him. I was like, oh, I've been thinking about this. I was wondering, if you can give me a hand, maybe we can catch up one day to maybe work on this. And he's like, oh, yeah, for sure. A week later, he basically says, hey, Chico, I finished. I was like, finish what? He's like, the actual size logo park. I was like, what the heck? What? How? It's my God, it's just incredible. It's incredible, he has a barn, and his barn is it's amazing, just full of homemade parks, and and now I think he's got into recreating fingerboard brand logos with as a park. I think maybe he got that idea from me, and now he's just running with it. So for instance, we got Abduction, Fingerboards, which is one of the distributors in Australia, and he went and did a logo park out of that as well. And again, it's mind-blowing stuff as well what he's doing. I just thought I mentioned as well, we got Blunt Slide is another company which is just rail, so the guy is is a genius with the rails. He's just
okay. That's a company I haven't heard of.
Yeah,
they're not big yet. You can buy some of his stuff on Abducted.
Yeah, you can find an Abduction, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's probably the same as you buying from Black River or Berlinwood. For me,
Yeah,
it
so I
doesn't
have
really
that.
make sense to buy through an Australian seller, and I only buy my like every time the Aussie Berlin shop gets dislocation, I buy like one of each color, like
Hell yes.
and I would
Dislo
I
stuff is
would
the best.
constantly and I would constantly hit up Timo, like if I know a shipping is on the way, like that happened a couple of months ago again, and I was like, is it there yet? Is it there yet? So save me a set of each color. I don't care what it costs, because it takes so much time to get them here, and I feel for you guys.
Yeah.
Because you probably have that problem much more
Similar
than
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are currently going through like that issue with things taking time. I think that like the show would be like a good opportunity like to share that news with the Australian scene to the people that are watching, and we're going to just leave it at the show so people can actually listen. To the ones that listen, they will get to know. The ones that don't, they will not know about this. But yeah, so Rafe, myself, and Dave, we're basically getting a G15 into Australia, like and again, thanks to Fi from Abducted, like she's been helping us a lot to do that, mid ground.
Thank you very much, Faye.
Yeah, Faye, you're amazing. Seriously, like if you listen to this, you're amazing. Like what you do is amazing. And and again, like just quickly mention about the distributors. I think we're really spoiled for distributors here. I think like we got in Melbourne, we have Katrina from On Point Fingerboards, which seriously we call her the fingerboard fairy. That's how she is. Like she just magically make the parts and the obstacles and whatever you need just appear like in like this quick in your hands, And then in Sydney we have obviously then we have Faye from Abduction, and we have Radical Fingerboards, and
Lewis from Radical.
yeah, I was going to say, which is run by like this little kid. It's amazing. Like Lewis, like many times, like we even hear stories where people arrive at events and they were like, oh, and they go talk to Lewis' father. It's like, oh, so you're the guy that runs, Radical, and it's like, oh no, my son is the one, and then you just point like a teenager, like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Mike was like 11 when he started Flatface, or even younger.
10 or 9, man. Like,
yeah,
really
he was
young.
super young. And even when he first made the first Black River deal, he was still like 12. I don't know, like
yeah, ridiculous.
Question for you, Nico: is Abduction the one that sell ill pills and beast pills?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, because I got some ill pills through them, and that was good. That was a good deal. Like I like the way they do things.
Yeah, look. I would say Faye and Katrina, like they talk a lot. I know that like for a fact, because like I speak, like I mean, like I'm very involved with the companies and with distributors. Like I'm very involved like with what happens in the Australian scene at the moment, and I know that
Faye actually made this interview happen.
And Faye, thank you.
Correct.
Yeah,
like,
for making this happen.
Faye basically made this interview happen. Yeah. Faye, like, and she like they are very customer service focused. Like they're very focused in making sure that you get what you're looking for. Like I even had many conversations with that. Like, and maybe this is it's good to mention as well. I mean, like you're trying to buy a G15 from like it's just my personal opinion, right? If I'm trying to buy a G15 from Black River, and I did try, and I mean, like the communication was just so bad, like so bad. Like it was taking so long for someone to reply, and then again, I'm just mentioning. If one of your main products that it costs a ton of money, you have a client, a customer that's interested in buying that, you to ship it to the other side of the world. That's just my opinion. Give some attention to this person. It doesn't matter what you're doing. give some attention to this person, you know. And I think that with Faye and Katrina, it's pretty much like it doesn't matter that you're trying to buy G15. It's like if you're trying to buy eel pills, or if you're trying to buy, you know, wrinkler or whatever it is, they like you hit them up with a message, they will reply straight away. It's incredible. Like, you know, it's like amazing. Like it's great customer service.
Faye replied like very fast to me and directed me towards you guys. Or
and again, and then to be fair, you know, Lewis is really good as well. Like Lewis is really good as well.
I think Lewis pretty much imported the first Black River Park.
Yes,
who's Lewis?
Radical.
So Lewis
From Radical.
Radical, yeah.
I think that like again, this is just my personal view. Abduction is starting to take a good, you know, good amount of ground, like of the Australian scene, like when it comes to distribution. Radical was the one, and in my opinion, they still probably the one that shipped more overseas. I know the Lewis have some really good deals, like with posting overseas, so a ton of people.
And again, that's an important stuff to figure out. Like there are some companies from the States or there's one company from Canada which is horrible when it comes to shipping. There's another company from Canada, like 5 Luck, who I write for. Stuff arrives in like 2 weeks, and I never have to go to customs, anything. And from the other company, again, like stuff is sitting at customs office for a month now. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And again, I think that also because of the Australian dollar, is kind of the currency is kind of like slightly, you know, lower than some other currencies. I think that, you know, a lot of people take advantage of that to buy, and they buy it from Radical just simply because it's really fast shipping. Like he does a great job, you know. Like if you jump on the website and buy something, like it's going to be shipped really quickly to you, very quickly.
All our shops here are highly professional, like highly.
Yeah,
I know that Radical is very, very liked in like Japan, China, like that area. A lot of those much prefer buying from Radical rather than States or Europe.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm sure the shipping would be a lot better too.
I would imagine that the Asian, you know, the Asian scene, whatever, they would very likely be looking into the Aussie market to buy stuff from, you know. And again, like, you know, I know they're On Point, for instance, like also is really good on that sense as well. Each one of the companies, they basically have their own brands kind of thing. So one kind of complement each other, you know. And it's actually, I think it's a cool story to share. Like, for instance, like my playground, right? The one that I have, basically, so Lewis decided to import like a G13. So he imported a G13 to his shop. And I think that to make shipping, like, you know, worth, he imported a ton of stuff. So he imported a bunch of playgrounds as well.
If you're importing that sort of thing, it makes much more sense to put other stuff in the package.
So anyway, so he imported a bunch of other parts, and I mean, like, it's just an interesting one, because I would only buy from Katrina simply because she's in Melbourne. I can literally ring her now, and I'm not joking. Within 30 minutes, I can have stuff. That's how quick, and I mean, this is probably one of the reasons why I normally go to her.
Same with me and TKY from Aussie. Like, I can write him in WhatsApp and be like, hey, I'm gonna pick it up whenever I get to town.
That's exactly
tomorrow. Yeah.
And the one thing that I just find amazing, like, and again, that shares a bit of like how customer service is important to Katrina as well. So I tried to buy a playground. I said, like, hey, Kay, you know, like I want to buy a playground. Like, can you talk to Black River and see like what can be done about that, you know? And then she was like, yeah, no worries, I'll check it out. And she came back, and like, in just the shipping was just an absurd amount of money, right? And she said, look, I don't think it's worth it, you know, like, and I agree at the time. I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not paying this, right? Whatever, like, I can just build my own park, whatever. And so anyway, when Lewis imported all these parks, and this is what I found amazing. Like, and I mean, like, that's true customer service in a way, because technically it's competition to her. But anyway, Radical posted like that they had like playgrounds for sale, and Katrina remembered that like 2 years later, and she just called me. She's like, "Hey, remember the park that you wanted to buy? Radical has them for sale. Jump in there and buy it, right?" And like, she actually called me. Like, she called me,
Cool. Oh, that's
I was
amazing.
and I was like, "This is amazing, right?" And
Yeah.
anyway, so straight away, like, I jumped and started talking to Lewis. And again, that was probably the first contact I had with Lewis, and it was very pleasant, like very easy to deal with him as well. Like, he was very professional, which is amazing for just a young kid, young
Yeah,
teenager.
absolutely.
And that was it. And now I have a playground. It's like
Cool.
amazing.
Yeah, a thing that like one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is that I think that Australia is one of the emerging, let's call it emerging markets in the fingerboard scene, because like a couple of years ago I didn't know any company from Australia, and then for a while I knew, okay, like this company's from Australia. Oh, these ones are from Australia as well, or these are from New Zealand, and I would constantly like pick things up here and there, but I never got like a full picture of how the scene is put together, or how the scene is stretched out over Australia. And like it's gotten more and more that I either meet people on Instagram who are from New Zealand, from Australia, or companies like Radical and Abducted, and it's gotten more and more, and it's gotten to a point where, like, from the outside looking in, it seems like a healthy mix of different kinds of companies producing different items. And
Yeah, I think
so
it's like, again, this is from someone that came from Brazil and became Australian, right? I think that one of the most beautiful things about the Australian people, it's the community sense of things. It's caring as a community. Like, it's not like not looking after myself. It's like it's look after everyone around you first, and then like the big picture, if that makes sense, right? And I think that, like, I mean, you hear like a ton of beefs, like here and there, like, like this and that and this. And I personally think that
Germany
and
has its fair share of beef.
And again, I'm not gonna say
Devo is the king of beef.
And again, I'm not gonna say that there is no beef in the Australian scene. I would be lying if I say that there is. But I would say, like, the big companies, they are all kind of collaborating with each other somehow.
And that's
like
awesome to hear.
that is super. Like,
because
and
I
mean,
wasn't
like, this is
sure.
great for us that fingerboards, like we're fingerboarders. Like, we don't care like what's happening with the fight. If you this or you that, like, it's just give me good stuff. I want to ride my fingerboard.
Because I wasn't sure if because since I gotten your contact information through Abducted, I didn't know if there was like a beef with Radical, because generally if
like,
you're
like there isn't like the distributors,
and that's amazing to hear.
As I said, like, the distributors, like, I mean, if you think of this way, right?
Chico, tell them about the second Melbourne event, for example.
Yeah, so the second Melbourne event, it was like, so there is this little kid, Lachlan, right? Worth mention as well. Big props to him. Like, he just basically organized everything himself. He went through, like, after similar to what Emin did in the past, but he just went after the companies and, like, hey, would you sponsor this? Would you sponsor that? And he basically got Radical, which is like Sydney, right? And he's got On Point, which is Melbourne. Like, and again, there is a bigger beef between Melbourne and Sydney than anything else, I would say, if there is a beef. But, like, I mean, this is just like Aussie.
Same in Germany, like Berlin and Bavaria is.
Yeah, but I mean, so there is a beef between the cities, I would say, but not between the people,
Yeah.
But they basically got, technically two competitors to put an event together. So the second event that we had, like, again, I'm saying it's the second event. It like
The
that
modern
happens since,
generation.
let's say the modern age, right?
Yeah.
The second
Yeah.
event on the modern age, because obviously Emin held like 1,000,000 events before. Okay, trying to respect that, Emin. Sorry, don't point a gun.
And this is before Abducted is around, by the way.
I know exactly, Chico. I'm following you, mate. But you called it the second Melbourne event because in the modern time where you're getting people together and sponsors and stuff involved, that was the second one of those that you had.
I would call it the second. I would call it the modern age of fingerboarding in Australia. You know.
Sorry, Amit, not to.
Yeah, not
All
to
good, man.
disrespect,
All good.
not to disrespect the past.
Please, OG, don't hurt me.
But yeah, and yeah, like that was basically an event that was put together, like in this, and the sponsors were like, you know, the two main competitors in Australia, the two main distributors in Australia, and I mean, and that shows like how there is collaboration, you know, between the brands, like, you know?
Like I said, that's amazing to hear, because that speaks of a healthy scene. Let's continue to one of my favorite sections that I like to call rapid fire, which isn't rapid at all. So the way I want to do this with all three of you is I start with let's just break. Yeah.
Can I just thought quickly mention like one of the main events that happen in Australia, which is an event that happens pretty much every year. It didn't happen last year, obviously because of COVID, but it's kind of like it became like the name. It became like you
like
know,
rendezvous, but we
like
call it.
We call it John DeVoe's because like it's held at Jono's, you know, house, like which is like this amazing place, like in the countryside of New South Wales. It's just like an amazing place, and like and literally every single main fingerboarder in Australia get together, and like, and that's the moment where all the companies are there. Like, you know, you get to see Jai, you get to see Matt from Street Ministries, you see Brendan from Vivwood, like you see myself, you see Ray for Sleeping, you see Dave, you know, you like Ziggy came to one of them, like Ziggy from Ego. Like, it's literally a moment, and obviously Jono, right, which is the guy that organizes all of this. You know, it's amazing. Like, I just have to say, like, I mean, I've been to Fast Fingers, and I'm gonna have to say my favorite event of all times is John DeVoe's. Like,
those events are really important. We're trying to get one to get in Germany that's like more focused on the German scene, because we have we have big events, but we want to have something where like all the people crawl out of woodwork to hang out with like the core scene of Germany.
Yeah.
But let's.
And just one more, just to finish. Sorry, I promise is the last one.
No.
And like, because obviously John DeVoe's is held, you know, like in the countryside. And when you think about Australia, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? It's like, it's apart from kangaroos and koalas.
The bush, mate.
It's the beach, mate. The beach. So I know that Jai from this location wants to start an event called Dislow Beach, which is going to be like an event, basically, you know, it's going to be like one of the main Australian events, I would say, where everyone come and then camping, you know, like near the place, and, you know, fingerboard near the beach or whatever. I don't know. The idea that he pictured to us, it's amazing, and I can't wait for it.
Nice. Yeah, let's move on to something that I like to call rapid fire, which isn't rapid at all. So the way I want to do this with all of you is I ask a question and we go in the same order every question. So Davo, Chico, and then Ammon. So that's the order I'm going with every time. And yeah, we'll just see how this goes. What's your favorite wheel?
Ill pills at the moment. But shout out to Cartwheels, Simon Cartledge who makes Cartwheels.
He's a nice
guy. He is an amazing fingerboarder, a lovely, lovely guy. He's been around forever. He's one of the most OGs in the scene. and he was on the first Australian. He was on Hazard, the first Australian deck company.
Cool.
I'm just gonna be quick. TLCs, wrinkles, TLCs.
Ammon?
Cool. Yep, I'm Ill Pills as well. Ill Pills Street.
Nice. Yeah, I still need to try those. What's your favorite deck and or shape?
Well, I actually like the Berlin Wood 20, the 32 low, the low wide, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. For me, it will be simple decks. Like, so my good friend from Simple, Alex, and the mode I will call it from now on the Chico mode, because I don't know which mode it is, but he makes it custom for me every time, and I just
Nice.
love it. That's amazing, the job that he does as well.
Nice.
All right. So for me, I'm all about the shape of decks. I've tried like hundreds of different decks, and I'm very, very, very particular about the decks. I like decks that are a little bit shorter. So between maybe the 96 to 98 millimeter sort of range. I like them 33.5 to 34 wide. I like really round kicks, and some of the decks that fit within that for me are Woobs. Now, and I'm not just talking about Woobs because of the hype, the bloody hype beast that has become of Woob. Zach is a personal friend. Zach is a personal friend of mine, and I've known Zach since 10, 15 years back in FFI days. We used to talk all the time, and I still talk to Zach, and he'll make me a custom board here and there. I love the shape of Woob. Joy Cult make a board that's almost the same sort of dimensions and very similar shape. So right now I'm writing a Joy Cult because someone stepped on my last Woob and snapped it, which is really cool.
Ugh.
And anyway, a company that's coming back right now that all of you should be aware of, Waste Fingerboards, one of the OGs of all OGdom in fingerboard history. Travis Appelman is bringing back Waste, and he's doing some pretty amazing things. So if you look up Waste Fingerboards Instagram, contact the guy if you like what you see, but try one of those boards. That's the dude that started putting out videos, full-length, full-part videos, back when we barely even had a host on the internet for them.
Shout out to TSM.
Yeah, so shout out TSM, TDAP, to the OG Waste Fingerboards, and
Nice.
Woob, Joy Cult, Waste, and Pop Decks. I really love Tom at Pop Decks. I love Pop Decks. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah, Pop are great as well. What's your favorite?
I love toasted fingerboards as well. Toasted.
What's your favorite trick on flat?
Nollie tray. Definitely.
I would be between nollie flip and switch flip. I'd say I would probably pick nollie flip.
For me, it would be either nollie flip or switch frontside flip.
Favorite trick on an obstacle?
Ooh, I think it's got to be like a nollie flip crooks, or just maybe a nollie crooks.
Yep.
Agreed. That's it.
Oh,
yeah, guess what? That's 3 for 3. Nollie flip crooks is the greatest trick you can do on the fingerboard.
Just a simple nollie crook.
Yeah.
Nollie or nollie flip into a crooks, and that's it.
Yeah,
nothing else.
It's super fun. What's your favorite song right now?
I've been listening to Caravan, and it's a song called and I Wish I Was Stoned / Don't Worry. Okay. It's prog rock from the 70s.
Okay, Dave.
Okay, for me it'll be very easy. AC/DC, Shot in the Dark. Amazing. Love it. New single out.
Yeah.
Spotify, check it out.
It's already a heavy rotation for me.
I've been getting back into some Radiohead the past couple of weeks.
Also nice.
So listening to,
I noticed that, actually.
Yeah. Daydreaming, Burn the Witch, their album In Rainbows, Creep. just Radiohead, whatever. I'm in.
Nice. What's your old favorite obstacle?
Ooh, yeah, it's definitely this. I know this is a bad obstacle to say, but I don't care. It's Tech Deck used to have these gray benches, and they also had these like California blue benches. Well, they came in a bunch of colors, but I remember one of the main ones here was blue. And it's basically the top half of that blue one on top of the gray bit, like blue tacked to the gray Tech Deck bench.
Nice.
And it's just like the perfect height. And yeah, it always gets busted out eventually over the years.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Kirk's actual size park, basically, which is it's the best. Amazing.
Nice.
This question reminds me of how badly I need to replace this obstacle. So I bought a dislocation curb. You know those urethane curbs that he makes?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Okay, so that's like, for me, that's like the greatest thing in the entire world.
You're talking the one with the shaved money on it, is it?
Yes, he shaved an American dollar bill and set it into the urethane of the curb. And to me, that's like
Nice.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It grinds and slides perfectly. It's never going to crack. It's never going to break. You can keep it in your pocket. You can take it anywhere you go. It's tiny, which makes it kind of harder, but also you can do whatever on it.
He actually does like with whatever you want. Like if you want anything, like if you want with Legos inside or whatever you want in a Jai will do it. It's amazing.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm glad we had this question because the second I get out of this podcast, I'm going to go hit up Jai from dislocation to buy another one of those curbs.
Nice.
Like that's the greatest thing. Now, here's one more thing I want to say about those. If somebody's making a proper plastic or urethane jersey barrier, like a proper orange one, the kind that we have in Australia that kind of looks like a T on the top and then goes like that. If someone's making them, can they please let me know so I can buy one? Because if that's not currently being made, somebody become a millionaire making them because they're the greatest obstacle in real life.
So Ziggy has one.
I saw Ziggy's and I said, "Bro, where'd you get it?" And he goes, "I had it 3D. Somebody 3D printed it and he found it at work." Now, when Ziggy dies, I need that to be in his will for me. Or somebody needs to start making those proper barriers. I'm not talking about American jersey barriers, even though they're cool. I want one of the Australian ones that comes up like this.
Check Ziggy.
You can't see my hands, right? But if you look at Australian orange road barriers, they have a flat top. They have a wide flat top, and they come in on the inside and the middle. Make one of those.
You actually, and so Ammon used to be an amazing skater, and I remember one of the first clips I ever saw on FFI was this edit that Ammon or someone he knew had put together of his footage from back then. And Ammon doesn't even remember this. I remember because I talked to him about it not long ago. But he actually sessions one of those barriers. Like there's a kicker up to one of those barriers and you do something pretty nice on it, like a nollie. I think you do like a nollie, like frontside nose slide on it or something. It was good.
Thanks, dude.
Let's keep this going. What's your Instagram name?
My Instagram is @boogiehands, and I am not mean, and I have never started beef with anyone ever before.
All sarcasm.
Okay, my one is pretty easy. But again, it may not be so easy because it's my surname, like my nickname. So it's Chico Barbieri. So it's CHICOBARBIERI. That's it.
Cool.
I hope it's all right.
All good. I am at Bolt Action BJJ. So Bolt Action is kind of like my fight. So I like mixed martial arts and I like jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that's what I like to do for fun. So yeah, that's my Instagram handle @Bolt Action BJJ.
Nice.
Last time I met Ammon, last time me and Ammon caught up, he MMA pretzeled me onto the ground and dominated me. Like
Sounds like fun.
my life flashed before my eyes.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
I went to MMA
Start playing
training.
both down. I'm gonna.
I
show
went to
something.
MMA training like 2 times, and no.
Is it worth mentioning like the place where we all caught up? Like, you know, like you guys in Germany, you guys caught up at, like, you know, Aussie. We all,
Steig or
yeah,
Aussie.
we always catch up at the place we call it the HQ, which is like Rafe's apartment.
Dos Dedos HQ.
Yeah, so that's Rafe. It's basically owns this apartment, and like it's just insane. Like you walk into the apartment and it's just fingerboard everywhere. It literally
Nice.
everywhere. Like to the point where if there is an obstacle that you take it there, like it just becomes part of it. Like it's just like everywhere. It's just crazy.
Nice. Let's try to pick this up a bit because I don't have that much time left.
Yeah.
Concrete, wood, or granite?
Oh, well, just wood, purely because wooden decks are just the best, and you can do so much with wood still.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
We'll keep it simple. Concrete done. Concrete. 100%.
Marble, granite,
Nice.
all day.
Yeah, I think I like that the most as well. Nollie, switch, regular, or fakie?
Definitely switch and definitely nollie.
You only get one.
Okay, switch.
Thanks.
I would. It's a hard battle, but I would pick switch as well.
Nollie, no question.
Same. Hobbies outside of fingerboarding?
Bit of vinyl collecting. That's really about it. Oh, and World of Warcraft, like gaming.
I have way too many hobbies. Like too many hobbies. Like I have, like I say, I play pretty much every single instrument you can think of. I play drums, guitar, bass, you name it. Like I literally have pretty much a studio on my garage. I love games. I love fingerboard. I love skateboarding. Like, you know, like you name it. Like I like pretty much everything that I find interesting. I start collecting, and yeah, I just have too many hobbies to be honest.
Yep. Okay. I have too many as well. So I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like I mentioned before. I've been doing that for a few years. I love MMA. I have a massive MMA memorabilia collection of gloves, posters,
sweet.
Just a bunch of different things. Yep. I love hunting. I'm a massive hunter. I've hunted in different places around the world, and I hunt whenever I've got time. I know Germans have a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
What I hunt, I eat. So the same way that Germans go to the store and buy sausages, they buy some wurst, whatever. I go and I get my sausages from the forest. So don't hate me, love me. We'll chat about it.
In Germany,
anyway,
like just a small detour. In Germany, those people who actually hunt, most people are okay with, because to be a hunter in Germany, you need to go through a lot of certification, and you basically you don't only hunt. If you're a hunter or have a hunter's license, you need to take care of the forest. Like you're basically a ranger in the forest, and one of the parts of your, let's call it a job, is to hunt for yourself, but like control the population, take care of trees, stuff like that.
Yep. It's very similar here, and I could spend hours talking about it, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
So I do hunting, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I collect a lot of MMA memorabilia, skateboarding, snowboarding. I love to cook. And there's probably 10 more things I can't think of. Archery, shooting, everything. Nice. Boy stuff. All the boy things.
Favorite fingerboard video?
That's too on the spot to think of that one, just because all the fingerboard videos I would say are like full lengths from back in the day. Definitely like Paper Hearts would be a big one. Any of the Vegas full lengths, like man, I can't even think of any of the name of the Vegas ones right now. But
me neither, man. Form of Sin.
Form of Sin, thank you. That is a massive one.
Okay. Yeah.
That's paper heart's a form of sin.
Yep.
For me, it would be Ego 5. Ego Fingerboard Video Magazine number 5. That'll be my one.
I love Ego Fingerboarding Video Magazine. Anything that they do. Vegas Form of Sin, and anything that Waste did full length.
Yeah.
Nice. Flat ground or flat ground with an obstacle or a park? Which one do you prefer?
Oh, park. I mean, yeah, park.
I would say that's a good question. I would say it depends on the situation. I think one complement each other. Like it depends on what you want to ride. Like sometimes like I mean there was a stage where I didn't have anything. I didn't have any obstacle. I literally spent a whole year just flat ground. That's all I had. It was a table. So
Rapid fire.
I love flat ground and I love parks. Like I love both. It's too hard for me, that one.
Flat ground and an obstacle.
Nice. Heel flip or kick flip?
Kick flip.
Kick flip.
Kick flip.
Favorite fingerboarder?
Eric Smith and Chris Daniels. And Ammon Wilkes. And Remy Banks. And anyone from Praxis. Nick Allen, Travis Appleman, Garrett.
Is a favorite fingerboarder, mate. Come on.
Big shout outs to Praxis. Love you guys.
My favorite fingerboarder is not even on the scene yet. It's called Carlos Guilherme Mena Barreto. He's just amazing, and he will never be part of the scene, which is sad thing.
I honestly can't think of one, but you know who's amazing and who I watch on Instagram? Wolfgag.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that dude's real name, but that dude can do any trick on a fingerboard that you can imagine.
Yeah,
and
he's technically
to,
as fuck. Yeah.
He can. I agree with that.
I'm very impressed by that dude. There's a lot of dudes I loved in the day. There's a lot of cool guys that are coming out now, but I will just say that's probably the craziest guy, Wolfgag.
And for like, can I just mention with tips up? I would say Extreme Secret Cash, which is Emilio. That's it.
Yeah.
I was mentioned.
On the same vein, favorite skateboarder?
Bastian Salabanzi.
Good one.
Man, that's just the most unfair question ever. If I have to pick someone, I'm gonna pick my Brazilian mate, Diogo da Silva.
I'm gonna say Mark Appleyard.
That's a good.
Nice.
That's an amazing pick.
Very nice.
What's your last personal NBD? So the last trick you did that you haven't done before?
I don't think I'd ever done this before, but I did a switch flip, switch backside tail, switch flip out, but like really cleanly, not none of that, like, you know how the kids pressure out. It was like I flipped out of that thing.
That's a tough one.
And that's in my that's in my very last edit.
Nice.
Nollie flip, 360 to backside nose blunt.
I saw him do that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That was insane.
So like literally like spin, like doing the nollie flip.
Yeah.
Body 360 with the nollie flip and nose blunt.
Yeah. Ammon?
Yeah.
I filmed a video which I called Mirror, where I tried to do every single trick I did in one stance. I tried to mirror it in the opposite stance. Mm-hmm. So if I did a nollie flip crook, I had to do a fakie flip crook. And so one of the trips that I had to mirror was fakie flip, switch crook, and then I had to lift up the board. Oh, sorry, it was a fakie flip, switch nose slide, and I had to lift the board up and do a 180 to switch back tail slide, and I did it down to handrail. So it was a fakie flip, switch nose slide, 180 to switch tail slide down to handrail. To me, that nearly broke my arm. I probably spent 2 hours doing it.
That's insane.
Can imagine. What's the most hated trick in a game with skate?
Switch inward heel or nollie inward heel.
Mm-hmm. Feel your pain.
Could never get those. Don't know why.
I have no problem.
Maybe one.
Yeah, same.
for me, it would definitely be uh, some of those hospital flips or something like that. And again, it's not because I can't do them. It's just like I just don't like the look of them.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. It'd be some kind of half flip or like any kind of impossible for me. Like if someone tried to start doing impossibles during a game of skate, I'd probably snap my board and throw it and then run away.
I never do impossibles in a game of skate because I come from the era in fingerboarding where it was only impossibles. So I can do any impossible variation in any stance. Like I can't do double impossibles, but other than that, like switch backside 180 impossible, like switch backside front foot impossible 180. Yeah, all I love those, but I never do them to other people.
I actually really like
everyone to you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Dog.
That's why everyone's got beef with you, Dave. Dogs.
Yeah.
Shut
No,
the hell up.
you're wrong. Cats.
Yeah, see?
Who are your sponsors?
Actual size, and like he wouldn't let me say this, but I do ride for Street Miniaturist.
Nice.
Yeah, actual size, street miniaturist, and like that would be similar to what they just say. Like I would say ego. I would say like it's not something official, but but I just love and support the way that Ziggy runs ego. I love Ziggy.
Nice. Ammon?
Yeah, I don't have any sponsors at the moment. Just like they were saying, some supporters. Like I really want to support Waste because of everything that they meant to me throughout all the years of fingerboarding. If there's things that I can do to support Ziggy in his video magazine Ego, I'd love to do that too. So yeah, I'd love to support Dislocation more too. When I get off this podcast, first thing I do is buy something from Dislocation. That would be some of my support, and hopefully all these shout outs work out as well because he makes the greatest stuff and he's a nice guy. But yeah, I'm more like in the support phase of my life. Nice. So yeah, if you guys you need a supporter, hit me up, man. I'll be your biggest supporter.
29, 32, or 34?
Well, 32.
29.
All of those answers disgust me. 34.
Look, man, we don't have those. We don't have those hunting hands like you, all right?
29 or thinner than this. Like anything above 29 is not fingerboarding to me.
Who are your dream sponsors? Or one dream sponsor?
Fingerboard connoisseur, definitely. Massive shout out to Casey. I love Casey. He is like he was coming up as me and Ammon. Well, Ammon had already made his bones, but as I was making my bones in Preet and stuff, and he has got a lot of respect for everyone and the right attitude about fingerboarding, and
nice.
I actually have this pretty clear in my mind. I personally don't have this desire to write for anyone. Basically because I don't need it. Like I'm very thankful, fingerboarding is like, it's more like a hobby to me. And like, I'm pretty successful with what I do, like for a living. I like to have the freedom to choose what I want to buy or which deck I want to ride or anything like that.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. So I don't want to write for anyone. I want to write for myself, basically. And I mean,
nice.
So that's it. I write for my friends, basically, which, actual size, street miniatures, like if any of my friends come and say, look, Chico, we want you to write for us, and I'll say like, yeah, I'll write for you because, you're my friend. That's it.
Ammon?
Yep. For me, I'm very fortunate that I was probably sponsored by just about every company that I really, really looked up to. So I was sponsored by Substance Wheels, which to this day people still go on about Substance. Jerome is one of my close friends. I actually haven't spoken to him recently, but we hung out and we're in Paris together. We kicked it together and stuff, and he's a really good guy. I love Substance Wheels. Uralt Wheels, was a dream to me. I was on the Uralt team up until
Nice.
that ended. I was sponsored by Waste Fingerboards, which for me, again, like I've been mentioning Waste a lot.
Yeah.
I was sponsored by Vegas Fingerboards. For me, they were the guys that had the biggest name in OG fingerboarding back in the day. They were like notorious and mysterious and cool. And if you could be on the team, you're like the coolest guy ever. Raymond, the guy who owned it, became a very close friend of mine, and I got on Vegas. So I'm very fortunate. I've actually been on most of the teams, and that's what I mean. Like it's all about teams. Like
Yeah.
it was all about teams. It was on the teams of the guys that I always looked up to and really liked. So I'm very, very fortunate with that. And so in this day and age, there's a bunch of companies I really think are cool, and I want to support them and stuff. But I don't have any desire to jump on and be sponsored by anyone really.
And the very last question: who's your favorite overall company?
Oh, yeah. Again, I think I might have to say Fingerboard Connoisseur or Dislocation. Really,
I would 100% say Dislocation. Overall Dislocation.
Yeah, actually, Dislocation, and then Connoisseur as like a shop.
Ammon?
Okay, that's 3 for Dislocation.
Nice. Yeah, sorry to rush this a bit at the end, but we've been going on for a while as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this, and also thank you Chico for setting this group up, and thank you to Abduction to set this up initially, and yeah, thank you Free to take this time and to talk to me about the Australian scene.
Thank you very much, Dana. It was
Appreciate
a pleasure.
your time, mate. Thanks for setting it up.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this. Like, it's great to know that, to show up to the world a little bit of what's happening here on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it was great talking to you, and you'll catch me in the next episode. Bye.
Will do, mate.
See you
Thanks,
then.
brother. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks, mate.